For this one, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. This is an experiment in a higher consciousness, right from where you are. The best person to explain all this stuff is Meher Baba in his book, God Speaks. This is related to experiencing the allness of one, or the one of allness. One of the fundamental premises of this universe game that we're in is called viewpoint of dimension. And in that sense, it's the concept of what if there was dimension, something not you, something out there. So we're going to run over that and bring it up through billions of years to the current incarnation of you. So I want you to close your eyes, and you'll notice that it's black. Also, when you look at another person, you look in their pupils, you will see that it's black. Nobody seems to have thought much about that. So I want you to imagine that you are in an infinite and absolutely black space, which can be fun. Also to take a look at that you are the infinite black space. And this space is both a little tiny point where you are and the largest multidimensional universal space you can conceive of. Now imagine that in the blackness there's a huge mirror, but no one can be aware of the mirror because it's completely black and there's nothing to be reflected. Now on the surface of the mirror is deposited a slight mist, like you get anytime you have a cool mirror and warm air. You get water vapor depositing on it, or car windows outside. And a little tiny drop eventually forms and rolls down, assuming there's a gravity force to pull it, and drops off the bottom of the mirror. That could be an analogy for you and your individual consciousness as part of the infinite consciousness, which would be the infinite, huge size darkness aware of itself. Now in that space, the idea for starting this game was, what if there was a point out there, some out there in the infinite blackness? In the beginning there were no points. This is the let there be light movement. So an individual being like that will posit or put out, what if there is a point over there that I can look at and communicate with? But there actually is no dimension. This is just an idea that there is dimension. This is how the game was created. And then a second point is put out, and then you have the basis of the three forces of the universe, which is the original being, large or small, putting on a point over there and admiring it so much it creates another point over there. Now you have communication and admiration between the being and the points that are created, and the third line is point to point creating. This is where all the number 3 and Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Holy Trinities come from. This is the fundamental theory which has come forward into being facts in the illusionary universe. So the universe starts, this universe starts with the viewpoint. What if there were points out there that had a more, there's some space, there's some dimension between the observer and the point. But the point actually never left the mind of the postulating observer. Fast forward a few gazillion years and we have human beings which are a biological organism made of DNA, which is a chemistry which was evolved, thought up, created by conscious beings. What if there was a self-evolving, self-replicating chemistry that we could play the game inside of? And there's a phenomenon in the universe which is called black holes, which to us are very powerful. But actually they are part of the imaginary rules in this universe, and are no more difficult to produce than saying, what if there was a point of light up there? Well, what if there was a lot of energy that could spin a galaxy and do other things? A newer idea is this idea of miniature black holes, as put forward by Nassim Haramein. It is said that there's a miniature black hole powering the human heart. And I'm going to say that the human body is a manifestation of the law of 3. It's become incredibly complex, and it's very stunningly beautiful if you can see it in its pristine form. We don't see it because we're identified with matter, energy, space, and time. I think the reason you see blackness when you look in someone else's eyes is there's a couple of other miniature black holes running the left and right hemisphere, which will give us a triumvirate of power points. And the colored part of the eye, it has been determined, is a map of the health of the body. It's also circular, which is one of the forms that things take, like planets or orbits or galaxies. And we have 2 of them facing forward because we're predators and we get a nice 3-dimensional view of the prey. But if you took the 2 halves, each iris, and put them together, you would have a flattened, or maybe even a sphere. I think it's just the truth of it. It has been for survival's sake, slightly modified into what we call eyes, with which we think we are looking out into a 3 or 11 or 20 dimensional multiverse, but it's still all based on the original idea that this is nothing but thoughts, an illusion, a what if, a game space. And what you're seeing when you look at another person is this triumvirate of mini black holes powering a DNA chemistry which has been formed by reaction to what happens to it in the physical universe. And with all things in the physical universe, they run on the line of least resistance. And that is part of the history of the DNA chemistry, is what will it do when it runs into a problem. It adjusts itself to handle the problem. And the difference between what we see as animals and human beings is because the conscious being is very present there, he all on top of having the DNA machine to work with, which has evolved from responding to problems in the universe. The conscious being looks at, how can I use this thing as a tool to modify the universe to my needs, to make things more fun, actually. Survival is generally not fun and requires work, but conscious beings or little soul units like to play and have fun and be interested in things rather than working in a factory. So on this planet, we're now at that stage where we have the possibility of using our intellect, love, and spirit of play to make the game here more fun. I could say a lot more about conditions on this planet and how they could be made better. I think this kind of stuff should be taught in schools, and maybe you can see from this kind of viewpoint how easy it would be to change the world. Because there are people who go efforting, war, blood, gold, pain, it's all about me, all that stuff. The way out of that is enough of us, especially you, to disagree with the way things are mentally and go free. It's not necessary to make people wrong or punish them. By just disagreeing and not playing, the vibrations coming out of you will change the world. And what you have to deal with is not as overwhelming as you might think. Peter Ouspensky, famous philosopher, said, what is a country? He said a country is a two-dimensional animal. It's the height of human beings, 4, 5, 6 feet, and it covers the area where the country is, whether it be Russia or Lithuania or Australia. And what it consists of is a bunch of contrary solutions that lead to an impasse. So if you want to work on people, what you're dealing with is where they reside, where the spirit generally harbors close to the brain. So you're looking at, say, something between 4 and 6 feet above the surface of the planet, spread around the planet in a very, very micro-thin film. So if you want to project light, love, and happiness, that's your target. It's not the whole planet. The whole planet takes care of itself and us. But if you ever get a gushy thought of love for mankind, broadcast it out 4 to 6 feet above the planet, all around the planet, till it comes back in a wave to you. And that's how you apply these kinds of principles. It's not necessary to take an army to the Middle East to quell the disarray that's happening there. Because all of this is happening still in the infinite black space, and it's all based on what if there was a point out there. And through other drops coming off the mirror and being told of this, like, oh, look what I've done, I've decided there's a point out there, and isn't it really neat? And then the second being goes, well, I want to try that, I'll put out a point, and some other points. And then there was communication and interchange between the points, but never direct communication between the beings. And it's rolled forward to become this marvelous multiverse full of stars and beings and gases and elements and causes. So, of course, we don't want to drop it. It's a fantastically complex and wonderful game space. And just right now on this planet, it's become a little bit uncomfortable. And for a lot of people, really uncomfortable. And the intellects of the nice people who invent things to make life easier, we have the technology to upgrade the standard of living around the planet, so people can have fun and enjoy life, which was the point of the DNA machine game anyway. It's supposed to be enjoyable. And if you're up for it, exciting and even dangerous. But the forced on you aspect of uncomfortableness is not something most people want. 98% of us wish, dream, or postulate that we want it to stop being ugly and start being better.